Knack is a game series that's altogether kinda shit. Well, according to the wrong internet anyways, and you gotta feel bad for this adorable abomination for trying so hard and ending up down in the dumps with the likes of games that people never got, like Garfield Kart, or even Garfield Go, which Pokemon Go ripped off. Nowadays, Knack is nothing more but a quote-unquote to scoff at, to laugh at, to ironically be excited for, to be happy about, which is a shame to all of us Knack fans, us true Knack fans that know this title is more than a meme. It's more than a garbage pile that the YouTube gaming establishment has pushed onto us. I won't stand for it, and neither should any of you. When you see such an iconic mascot from the 8th generation of console games being the target of bullying, you have to feel bad for the creature. I'm what you could call a Knack apologist, so join me today as we discuss the strengths of one of the most innovative experiences of our time. So, let me think. Knack is an original game about goblins trying to murder humans with a scientist who created this ancient relic, a mechanical human robot-like creature robot thing to combat the evil threatening humanity. On the other hand, there's another human who's evil and works with the antagonist to try to conquer the world. Well, I guess I spoke too soon when I said this was an original gripping narrative. At least the dialogue is good.
I would like to make a small...
Yeah, I mean, it still looks presentable, and hey, the voice acting talents are pretty good. You have Laura Bailey, who played Nadine Ross in the Uncharted series, as one of the characters, and as well as somebody who had a few roles in the Emoji Movie, and The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. And, okay, let me cut the bullshit here, I'm not fooling anyone. Knack is just painfully average. And it always seemed super rushed to meet the launch window of the PS4, so it had a console-exclusive platformer for other audiences other than a mature one. This is coming from the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment himself. He flat out says that the game wasn't meant to be high quality, but rather was meant to send a message that the PS4 could cater to other demographics as well. Knack was not a game made out of a passionate idea that could have been transformed into a masterpiece. It was made out of a necessity for a niche product to market with the PS4. Sony claimed that they wanted Knack to be the Crash Bandicoot of its time, meaning that it would invoke some positive emotional response and essentially be a system seller for fans of 3D platformers. They even marketed the hell out of Knack so it could have had the chance to be like Crash and sell over 7.5 million units and make the PS4 as profitable as possible. Of course, they got it wrong because they mistakenly believed that the mere existence of a Sony platformer would be beneficial for their financial gain. They thought that Knack could just exist and be profitable. It didn't have to be good. They knew it wasn't going to be good. Turns out the demographic that they thought this would appeal to, children for the most part, considering Sony's lineup of mostly mature games for the PS4 in the launch window, wasn't interested in Knack. 1.75 million units for such a game isn't bad, but keep in mind, Sony wanted this game to be another Crash Bandicoot in terms of success. They seem to be counting on Knack to catch on in the early stages of the PS4 because they even released a terrible clone of Bejeweled, Candy Crush, or any other tile matching game called Knack's Quest on mobile devices. I mean, how generic and uninspired can you get? This just reeks of corporate circle jerking. Sony expected Knack to be a beloved brand and a face for the PS4, but it wasn't. This was primarily because the game was garbage, and despite what you might think, even the most intense marketing can't always salvage a dull game like Knack. Critics slammed Knack, and while it isn't terrible, it's not incompetently made like Sonic 06, a 5 out of 10 nowadays isn't a good look for a game. Since I think we're so accustomed to grading how it was done in schooling, we, as the majority of people who play video games, have come to regard that a 50% is failing. It's below an F. And for the average consumer, when they look up Knack and see these abysmal ratings, they're less inclined to pick it up. Plus, I think Sony took a wrong turn with the branding of Knack and how it was presented. Knack as a character is unique, but that name, that fucking name seems so silly. It never caught on as being anything but a joke. More importantly, however, everyone could tell this game was rushed to meet a deadline. Sony even admits this themselves. Game director Katsumi... Oh my gosh. Here we go. I'm not looking this one up. You're gonna have to deal with me. Takamitsu Ijumi? I'm taking Japanese at college. Stated that meant we had a limited amount of time and the deadlines came before we could figure out how to implement some of the ideas we wanted to include. Evidently, yes, Knack was truly rushed to meet the PS4's launch window for purely business reasons, causing the team to make one of the most repetitive, dullest games for the system. Rushed games sell well enough to make a return, like Knack, Assassin's Creed Unity, which sold around 4 million units, believe it or not, and Mass Effect Andromeda, all games considered to be financial successes and have people on the developer team exposing the product as rushed without a care for quality. However, this is a short-sighted financial goal, as rushed products usually end up tarnishing an IP's reputation, and not to mention your company's. But not always, like with Knack. That ended up turning into this ironic meme widely spread by internet funny man Dunkey. Of course, Dunk was just making a joke. He had no ulterior motive.
I have to admit something. I'd actually like to.
Game Hypothesis with Dunkey paid off by Sony to make more Knack memes to further the brand.
But what unintentionally happened was that Knack became more and more popular. Its meme status was a marketing gimmick Sony didn't stop, but rather progressed. As we know from the genius law, any press is good press. Such is the case with Knack. Sony has brilliantly furthered this meme to advertise Knack's sequel, aptly titled Knack 2, which many claim to be a quote-unquote atonement for Knack. It's so fascinating to me about this whole Knack situation. It was a pretty niche, rushed game that turned into a huge meme that everyone knew about. Knack has become unintentionally ironic, and that's hilarious given how bad the game actually is. Without the deadline, I don't think Knack would have been bad, and it wouldn't have attained the meme status it's known for today. If it was just good or decent, it wouldn't have the reputation it has. Companies know that memes are marketable, and if Sony was preparing for this all along, holy fuck, that would have been actually genius. Imagine a Sony executive somewhere coming up with this nefarious plot to transform a bad product into a meme later on. They played us all so that a sequel could be given time, redeem the franchise, and get even better press. Without the rushed development, I think Knack could have actually been a good game after all. In all seriousness, it had the potential to be super fun and actually innovative. The concept of Knack is really novel in a strange turn of events. You can change into different sizes of Knack throughout the levels as you collect more relics, where each has a specific purpose in either getting past an obstacle for combat and the such. The inherent problem lies with how Knack is designed in its stages. You don't get to grow bigger because of your skill to get relics in the game. You only get big when the game requires it of you. You only get smaller when the game requires it of you. There aren't many optional pathways to explore in different forms, and your attack power, health bar, and abilities don't really change as you collect more and more relics, expanding Knack's girth. You're stuck in a constant state of mediocrity with no way to change it. No matter how big the health bar, you will only be able to tank 3 hits, which is insane to me. This is an idea that could have been expanded off of to create an actually engaging experience with clever puzzles and neat platforming. Knack also controls in such a simplistic manner with no combos or any change of abilities for the most part. It's just the same repetitive stuff of beating up bad guys one by one and solving easier puzzles than a game of Fireman Sam on the DS.
Bandage.
Apparently, the team had several ideas to end the monotony of every stage of Knack, but they were all cut. This is where Knack 2 comes in to save the day. With co-op, more interesting puzzles, and actual care and time, this looks to be a better game than Knack could ever hope to be. It seems to be the game Knack wanted to be. I mean, the developer team even flat out said this, according to creative director Mark Cerny, quote unquote. So, in a very real sense, what you're seeing with Knack 2 is the items that ended up on the cutting room floor. This is just my speculation, but it seems like Cerny's team never really wanted Knack to be released so soon to meet a deadline. As any creative game designer under the wrath of corporate entities, I'm sure that dilemma is all too common. It plagued Mass Effect Andromeda, Sonic 06, Sonic Boom, The Rise of Lyric, and so much more. I feel bad for Cerny and co. because, as I've said many times, Knack had the potential to be fantastic. They seem to have great ideas to fully flesh out Knack that just couldn't be implemented in time, causing the quality to suffer as a result. Unfortunately, we'll have to see if it will be as financially viable as Sony wants when the sales numbers come out. I hope Knack 2 wasn't rushed like the first installment. I mean, I have optimistic expectations for it. I haven't beat it yet, but it's been a better time than the first one, that's for sure. Knack 1 is a game filled with good ideas that are never given the time to blossom into anything innovative, which is the most I can compliment it for. It set up a pretty good sequel to atone for its sins. Oh, and I guess while I'm at it, one thing I think most of us could agree on that's surprisingly good about Knack are the visuals. It looks good in game for being an early PS4 game, and I think Knack's design is cool. I'm not crazy about these generic looking goblins and humans, but Knack is alright. So yeah, that's Knack. The product before it was a game. It was made for a niche audience for business purposes, not creative ones, and it sort of succeeded in the end. It became a renowned internet phenomena that only adds to its marketability and success. Although Knack was a rushed, awfully average game that failed in being a popular brand and beloved platformer like Sony wanted, it had some neat ideas and it wasn't too bad. That's about as much as I can defend from such a thing. Like I said before, Knack fascinates me from the reasons it was made, almost as the byproduct of a corporate circle jerk, and how it was transformed from a decidedly terrible game to one I tried defending as a meme today. It's the story of a development team rushed to meet a deadline for a game that was always intended to be a marketing gimmick and nothing more. Knack is a tragic hero. He took a bullet for us so that we could have a second game and more 3D platformers on the PS4. Maybe his failure sparked the development of the Insane Trilogy in a way. Maybe Knack was the unsung hero of the generation to bring about the new age of consoles and their games. It's weird, the story around Knack's place in society is 1,000 times more interesting than the actual game itself. Again, sorry to all the Knack fans out there. If I missed something that makes Knack so challenging, please type an MLA essay formatted below and I'll rate it on my new website, knackenthusiast.gov. As always, thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.